Students, class 10th, assalamu alaikum. Our today's lecture is unit 3 of your English textbook, Dreams. We have already read the lesson. This is the poem. We have already read it and we have understood every line of it. I will repeat it with you. I'll read it and then we can further go on towards its exercises. Now dreams is in English ख्वाब. ख्वाब वो आप जो देखते हैं तरक्की के लिए, कामयाबी के लिए. These dreams are those dreams that we want to accomplish. Let's move on to the poem. The poet of this poem is Langston Hughes. Hold fast to dreams, for if dreams die, life is a broken winged bird that cannot fly. Hold fast to dreams, for when dreams go, life is a barren field frozen with snow. It's a very short poem, but it's a very beautiful one. Let's start with the first question, which is about what is the theme of the poem. Now, the first question that we have been asked is about holding on to dreams. The theme of the poem is about holding on to dreams. The whole poem revolves around its caption. Caption unwan ko कहते हैं. It sheds light on the importance of dreams. Dreams pave the way, राह हमवान करते हैं, for the creation of goals. So we must have dreams in order to lead a purposeful life. Life without dreams is like a journey with no destination. Now, understanding the poem better is our main purpose, because as a teacher, our main purpose is that you should write the poem yourself. No one should write it for you. You should write it yourself. The theme of the poem Dreams is the importance of holding on to dreams and ideals in life. Dreams are essential for dynamic and optimistic life, and life without ambitions is hopeless. To understand this poem, we need to go through a short summary of the poem. This is a short poem and has been written by Langston Hughes. In this poem, he says that always stick firmly to your dreams, because if dreams die, life becomes a broken winged bird that cannot fly in the air. Stick fast to your ambitions in life, because if there are no hopes, ambitions and dreams in life, life becomes like a barren field, too poor to produce any vegetation. It means that life becomes hollow and bleak. Now let's go through the answer of the first question that has been prepared for you. What is the theme of the poem? The importance of hope is the major theme of the poem. Dreams are manifestations of hope, the hope that can make our dreams come into reality. Hope is something that makes life more bearable and happier. Without it, life is not as good, so one should hold fast to dreams and keep striving to make them happen, regardless of obstacles or complications along the way. A dream does not become reality through magic. It takes sweat, determination, and hard work. All our dreams can come true if we have the courage to pursue them. This is the basic idea. It has been written by Walt Disney. It's an excellent quote that we must keep in mind in life to attain success. Now let's move on to the second question. The second question is, how important do you think dreams are? Explain. सवाल आपसे ये क्वेश्चन ये किया जा रहा है कि ख्वाब कितने इम्पॉर्टेंट हैं, उसे एक्सप्लेन करें. Dreams are very important for leading a purposeful life. Dreams determine our destination. They make us active and dynamic. They pull us out of the quagmire, daldal of disappointment. Quagmire of disappointment, problems जो हम disappointment से face करते हैं, ख्वाब हमें उनसे बाहर निकालते हैं. They remove lethargy and enable us to work harder. Dreams are very important for a hopeful and optimistic life. Life without dreams is hollow and bleak. Dreams is a force of hope, pleasure and satisfaction. Dreams enable us to obtain success, power or riches. The only purpose in a man's life is fulfilling his dreams. Now let's move on to the answer. How important do you think dreams are? Dreams are very important, very necessary. Without dreams, there will be no ambition to chase, there will be no goal to reach. We will all have nothing in our lives. It is like following an invisible shadow. We must know what we want to do and follow that ambition. We can't achieve anything in life without goals, and for these goals, we need to determine what our dreams are. So, dreams are very important in life. They motivate, inspire, improve, and help us in achieving any goal that we want to achieve. A heart without dreams is like a bird without feathers. Dreams are like stars that you may never touch them, but if you follow them, they will lead you to your destiny. Let's move on to question number 3. Question number 3 says, identify an example of a word or phrase that is repeated in the poem and explain why the poet makes this repetition. We find a repeated phrase, hold fast to, at 2 places in the beginning lines of 2 stanzas. The poet does so to emphasize the importance of dreams in life. The poet wants to say that we should not stop dreaming in life. The poet repeats the phrase, hold fast to dreams. He repeats these words because he wants to encourage the readers to strive hard for the achievement of their dreams. Let's move on to the answer. First heading we must write over here is reference to the context. This question has been taken from the poem Dreams, written by Langston Hughes. Then explanation. The repetition of the line, hold fast to dreams, is made by the poet Langston Hughes. He wants to encourage people to hold fast to their desires and goals, because without them, life is bleak and hopeless. This quote urges people to hold on to their dreams, which are motivational and inspirational. Now, question number 4. Identify an example of personification. Explain what is being personified and how. Personification is a figure of speech in which inanimate objects are dealt with in a way as if they were human beings. In the poem, life has been personified. The poet has compared life without dreams to a bird whose wings are broken and is unable to fly. In order to impress upon the readers the importance of dreams and goals, Langston Hughes personifies them. For example, in the line, for if I dream, the dreams are given importance and life through personification. Now, answer number 4, reference to the context. This question has been taken from the poem Dreams, written by Langston Hughes. Explanation. In order to highlight the importance of dreams and goals, Langston Hughes personifies them. In the first stanza, he personifies dreams by writing, for if dreams die, suggesting they can die as if they are living things and are able to die in reality. This is especially significant because death is so final. It sounds as though if dreams are allowed to die, they can never be resurrected. You can never start dreaming again once you let your dreams out of your mind and you give up on them. So dreams are given importance and life through personification. Now it's question number 5. Let's read question 5. Identify lines containing metaphors. What ideas are being conveyed by these metaphors? Metaphor is a figure of speech in which words are used to indicate something different from their literal meaning. In the lines number 3 and 7, metaphor has been used in order to emphasize the significance of dreams. The poet wants to assert that just as the bird with broken wings and a barren field are futile, bekar hote hain, in the same way, life without dreams is useless. In the poem, the number 3 and 7 lines are broken winged bird and barren field. These are the metaphors. Let's move on towards our answer. In the poem Dreams, metaphor is being used twice. In the first stanza, the metaphor is life is a broken winged bird that cannot fly. The defining characteristic of birds is that they can fly. If a bird can no longer fly, it seems hard to imagine how it could survive. It would seem as though the bird cannot use the thing it was born to do. So would be without our dreams. A bird is born to fly, so if wings are broken, it cannot fly and life ends there. The metaphor in the second stanza, life is a barren field frozen with snow, it really conveys the lost potential of life without dreams, to be barren, that nothing can grow, and if it is applied to one's life, it means that all one's potential is lost. Pursuing our dreams makes us grow and develop, and in the absence of dreams, this growth becomes impossible. Now, question number 6. List the alliterative words from the poem Dreams. Alliteration is a figure of speech in which several words are arranged together with the same initial letter or sound. We find alliterative words in the second line of the first stanza, if dreams die, and in the third and fourth line of the second stanza, frozen with snow. There are some alliterative words in the poem. We list them. They can be found in line 2, if dreams die, and in the last line, the frozen field with snow. Let's move on to the answer. List the alliterative words from the poem. This question has been taken from the poem Dreams, written by Langston Hughes. Explanation. The D syllable is repeated in the second line with the words dreams die. D here, D over here again. Then in the last two lines, the alphabet F is repeated with the last word of the seventh line, field, and the frost word of the final line, frozen. Also in broken winged bird, B is repeated in the third line. Now, have you understood alliteration? Hopefully you have. Next is question number 7. How is imagery used in this poem? Imagery is a poetic device in which language is used in a way that produces pictures in the mind of people reading or listening. Imagery has been beautifully used in this poem. A broken winged bird and a barren field create vivid visual images in the minds of the readers. The poet has beautifully employed the device of imagery. He uses words like broken winged bird and barren field, frozen with snow, to make images in the mind of the readers. Now let's move on to our answer. Imagination starts to take over as one reads this poem. The lines, life is a broken winged bird that cannot fly, and life is a barren field frozen with snow, are a great example of imagery, because one can picture the broken winged bird unable to fly and a barren field where nothing can grow. This amazing use of imagery also makes one start to think about what life would be without dreams. Now it's question number 8. What is the mood of this poem? How does it make you feel? The mood of the poem is one of hopefulness. We feel optimistic or umeed when we read the poem. The poet encourages the readers to stick firmly to their dreams. Dreams make life active and dynamic. Now the poet Langston Hughes uses figurative language to create a very cold and sad mood in the poem. However, the poet encourages the readers to hold fast to their desires and goals, because without them, life is dull and bleak. Let's move on to the answer. Reference to the context. This question has been taken from the poem Dreams, written by Langston Hughes. Hopefully, you have memorized this by now. Now, explanation. The poet Langston Hughes opens the poem with a command by saying, hold fast. The first attitude he takes towards his people or the readers is didactic, meaning instructive. He's giving an instruction. He's ordering us. He is very serious about teaching wisdom concerning holding on to dreams. His words also express depressive and sorrowful mood when he says, life is a broken winged bird that cannot fly. Life is a barren field frozen with snow. Yet, at the same time, since he speaks of the ability to hold fast to dreams, he also expresses a vaguely optimistic mood. Let's move on to the stanza. Hold fast to dreams, for if dreams die, life is a broken winged bird that cannot fly. First question, what will happen if dreams die? Answer, as a broken winged bird cannot fly, so if dreams die, people will not survive. They will not achieve anything in life. Question 2, why should we hold fast to dreams? Answer, we should hold fast to dreams because they make our way to chase our ambitions in life. Dreams motivate and inspire us. Question 3, what figurative language has the poet used in the last two lines? The poet very beautifully has used the metaphor by saying that life is a broken winged bird that cannot fly. He compares life without dreams to the bird which cannot fly due to its damaged wings. Question 4. What is the name of the poet? The name of the poet is Langston Hughes. Question 5. What is the title of the poem? The title of the poem is Dreams. Question 6. Why cannot a bird fly? A bird cannot fly because its wings are broken. Stanza number 2. Hold fast to dreams, for when dreams go, life is a barren field frozen with snow. First question. What happens when dreams go away? When dreams go away, life becomes a barren land which is covered with snow. Dreams give strength and potential, but when they go away, it is difficult to pursue our goals of life. How does life become a barren field? When there are no dreams of achieving anything in life, then life becomes a field where nothing can grow. Question 3. What figurative language has been used in the last two lines? Metaphorical techniques have been used in the last two lines. Langston Hughes states that when there are no dreams in life, then such life is same as a barren field, which is too poor to produce much or any vegetation because it is also frozen with snow. Question 4. What is the substitute of for? Because is the substitute of for. Question 5. What is the message of the poem? The message of the poem is that dreams are very straightforward encouragement for people to not to give up when life becomes challenging. If you can dream it, you can do it. This is a very motivational statement. Now let's move on to the exercises. Page number 24, P part. Write the correct option in the following statement. The phrase hold fast to dreams means D option, stick fast to your ambition in life. Page number 25. In the line, life is a broken winged bird, the poet uses the technique of, correct option is A, metaphor. Number 3, life is a barren field. In this line, the phrase a barren field is a metaphor. Correct option is B, metaphor. Number 4, according to the poet, life without dreams is A option, hollow and bleak. Number 5, according to dreams, what will happen if our dreams die? Correct option is D, life will be hopeless. Now explain if you were correct, close or totally off, and why you think that happened by using evidence from the text. Broken wind, damaged wings, dictionary definition, damaged wings. Barren field, uncultivated land, uncultivated field, frozen with snow, covered with snow, same meanings. Hold fast, catch and stick tightly, to support with hands. Persuasive essay. A persuasive essay explains a specific topic and attempts to persuade the audience that your point of view is the most informed, logical and valid perspective on the topic. This genre is also known as the argumentative essay. When you want to persuade somebody about your views, that kind of essay is known as a persuasive or argumentative essay. Elements of a persuasive essay. A persuasive essay does not have certain baseline requirements that are standard in nearly every essay type. A clear thesis or controlling idea that establishes and sustains your focus. An opening paragraph that introduces the thesis. Body paragraphs that use specific research evidence to illustrate your informative or argumentative points. Smooth transitions that connect the ideas of adjoining paragraphs in specific and interesting ways. Use of counter arguments to summarize and refute opposing positions. A conclusion that emphasizes your central idea without being repetitive. Keeping in view the main points of a persuasive essay. Write an essay having a thesis sentence. A dream doesn't become reality through magic. It takes sweat, determination, and hard work. I'll give you this essay in our next session, in which I will send you all the essays that are included in your class 10 book. Essays is going to be a completely separate lecture of your YouTube. Next is listening and speaking. Each student should share his future dreams and aspirations. This is class activity which is supposed to be done in groups by the class teacher. Grammar. Now in this part of your text, there are two types of verbs, transitive and intransitive verbs. First or foremost thing is the definition of transitive and intransitive verb. Transitive means to affect something else. Now let's define transitive verb. A transitive verb is a verb that accepts one or more objects. Now intransitive definition. Intransitive verb is a verb that makes sense without an object. Let's start the exercise. Choose a sentence that does not have an intransitive verb. I watched a movie. This over here is intransitive. Next is number 2. Choose the sentence that does not have a transitive verb. She laughed heartily. Choose the sentence that does not have a transitive verb. The birds are flying. Let's move on to the next page, page number 27. Choose the sentence that have an intransitive verb. The customer is buying pancakes. B option is correct. Number 5. Choose the sentence that does not have a transitive verb. Asma shouted in the class. D option is correct. Number 6. Choose the sentence that does not have an intransitive verb. The student is answering the questions. A part is correct. Pick out 5 transitive and 5 intransitive verbs from the story The Champions. This we are going to do in a little while. The rest of the exercises I am sending you. Present participle or past participle. Write the verb in parentheses in the correct form, present participle or past participle. Prepared by the best cook in town, the meal was sheer poetry. After studying all day, her head was aching in the evening. First is prepared, second is studying, third is lying on the sofa, they were watching TV. Number 4, everybody was shocked to hear the news. Number 5, before leaving the house, I always check if all the lights are switched off. Part B, combine the following pairs of sentences by using participle present or past. The first one has been done for you. We met a boy, he was carrying a heavy bag. We met a boy carrying a heavy bag. Next is, the house was decorated with lights. It looked beautiful. The house decorated with lights looked beautiful. The robbers saw the policeman. They ran away. Seeing the policeman, the robbers ran away. I found the door open. I went inside. Finding the door open, I went inside. The police saw the body. It was floating down the river. The police saw the body floating down the river. Now is the clause. Clauses come in 3 types. Main or independent clause, subordinate or dependent clause, relative or adjective, and noun. Every clause has at least a subject and a verb. Now main clauses. Every main clause will follow the following pattern. It will have a subject, it will have a verb, and the complete thought. For example, lazy students always complain. Student subject, complain is the verb. Water spilled over the glass and splashed onto the counter. Water is the subject, spilled or splashed are the verbs. My cat loves milk. Cat is the subject, loves is the verb. The important point to remember is that every sentence must have at least one main clause. Subordinate clauses. A subordinate clause will follow this pattern. Subordinate conjunction plus subject plus verb. Incomplete thought. Example, whenever lazy students complain. Now whenever is the subordinate conjunction. Students are the subject. complain is the verb. As water spilled over the glass and splashed onto the counter. As is the subordinate conjunction. Water is the subject. Spilled or splashed are the verbs. Because my cat loves milk. Because is the subordinate conjunction. Cat is the subject. Loves is the verb. The important point to remember about subordinate clauses is that they can never stand alone as complete sentences. To complete the thought, you must attach each subordinate clause to a main clause. Generally, the punctuation looks like this. Main clause plus no punctuation, comma, plus subordinate clause plus punctuation, that is comma, plus main clause. Example, whenever lazy students complain, comma, Mrs. Rameez throws chalk erasers at their heads. Amir ran for the paper towels as water spilled over the glass and splashed onto the counter. Because my cat loves milk, comma, she never catches rat. Relative clause. A relative clause will begin with a relative pronoun such as who, whom, whose, which or that, or a relative adverb when, where or why. The patterns look like these. Relative pronoun or adverb plus subject plus verb in complete thought. Relative pronoun as subject plus verb in complete thought. Examples, whom Mrs. Rameez hit in the head with a chalk eraser. Whom is a relative pronoun, Mrs. Rameez is a subject, hit is the verb. That had spilled over the glass and splashed onto the counter. That relative pronoun, had spilled or splashed are the verbs. Who loves milk, who is the relative pronoun, loves is the verb. Like subordinate clauses, relative clauses cannot stand alone as complete sentences. You must connect them to main clauses to finish the thought. Look at these revisions of the relative clauses above. The lazy students whom Mrs. Rameez hit in the head with a chalk eraser soon learned to keep their complaints to themselves. My cat Mano, who loves milk, drinks it under the kitchen table where she enjoys it with great enthusiasm. Amir ran to get paper towels for the water that had spilled over the glass and splashed onto the counter. Now, punctuating relative clauses can be tricky. You must decide if the relative clause is essential or non-essential and then use commas accordingly. Essential relative clauses do not require commas. A relative clause is essential when you need the information it provides. The relative clause becomes non-essential and does not require commas to separate it from the rest of the sentence. Now let's start doing the exercises. Read the sentences and decide if the bold words form a dependent or an independent clause. Let's start doing it. The first one is Tahir did his homework before he went to bed. Now this Tahir did his homework is an independent clause. You can see it's a complete sentence and the information is being sent and understood easily. Number 2, isn't that the woman who lives across the road from you? This is a relative clause because the woman who lives, it's incomplete, it's not giving the whole information, but there is a relative clause. It is not explaining it, subject and verb, it is incomplete thought. Because the test was so difficult, none of the students got a very good grade. Now this clause, none of the students got a very good grade, is an independent clause. She is very fit because she goes running every day. This is a dependent clause. It's incomplete. It cannot be understood without she is very fit. Number 5 is the police said the accident that happened last night was unavoidable. The accident that happened. This is a relative clause. I don't like Mondays, independent clause. Have you seen those people who we met on holiday? Those people who we met is a relative clause. Can you tell me why you said that? Is an independent clause. You shouldn't believe everything that you read in the newspaper. Relative clause. If you help me, I will help you is a dependent clause. It's not complete without the whole meaning. I think we've done the exercise of Unit 3 Dreams. Hopefully you must have understood it. We will have a separate video about your clauses, inshallah, and then we will have a separate one about essay writing also, and especially a persuasive essay. Hope you like the video. Kindly like and subscribe our channel, and do encourage us. Write in the comments if you have any problem or query about it. Thank you so much.